What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some r/relationships. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it truly helps out our channel. And with that being said, we're just going to crack straight into today's stories. What is going on, right? And our first story comes from Throwaway Cult Loser. I pushed my boyfriend into a deep religion from neglect. I'll try not to let this post get too long, but I feel so confused and unsure how to feel right now. I'm sorry if this comes out as a mess. I'm typing through tears. My partner, 26 male, and I, 27 male, have been together for close to 5 years, and we have a very healthy and intimate relationship, but all that changed this year. This year hasn't been kind to me. I was left unemployed, my grandfather passed away, and my mother began to develop serious health problems. With all of that happening, I was constantly in a state of stress. I became severely depressed and miserable, turning cold to my partner. He was becoming depressed as well. He has self-esteem issues that I have done my best to try and help him with, but he refused therapy, and it's a constant battle to keep his spirits high. I love him from the high heavens above, but the heavens came to crap on me. I learned today that my partner got in contact with an old friend of his who recently found God, and they had been talking while I was busy with my mother or job searching. My partner today asked if I consider myself a Christian out of the blue, which prompted a conversation about what that came from. It turns out that his old friend convinced him that if he never disobeyed the 7 deadly sins, listened only to the Bible and obeyed it to the full, he would be happy. And my partner is saying he is really happy now, but then he said that he has given up any form of intimacy between us as homosexuality is prohibited by the Bible. Not loving each other, but performing in intimate acts. I'll admit, I did not handle it well. I felt betrayed. I have a bad history with extreme Christians and asked if he was ashamed of the time we spent together and our sex life. He said no, but that now he has to change and redeem himself. When I asked why, he just got very quiet and said, "Please don't make this harder. I want to stay with you, but I need to obey my faith." He wants us to stay together, for both of us to become Christians and remaining loving and support each other, but have no intimacy. He tells me that he wants to support me and make my life better, but I saw a future with him, and now I just see this. Awkward in between. I told him that I hoped this would all be a bad dream, and that him doing this was literally my worst nightmare come to life. He called me selfish for not being happy for him, finding a path in life that made him happy, and said he did this because he was constantly sad about being alone. He felt lonely and now feels like this gives him a purpose in life. I just don't know what to do. It's like the person I knew for years has suddenly been replaced by this alien I don't even recognize. I feel humiliated, as if the last 5 years meant nothing and my stress levels have only risen with this. It honestly sounds like he has joined a cult of some sort. I don't know what to do. And we're going to start with Anti-Fascist saying, "You didn't punish him to become religious. That was his choice and he has free will. If he insists you join him in religion you aren't interested in and won't be intimate with you because of his newfound faith, then you have to decide if that will be enough of a relationship for you. You're free to walk away, as he's drastically changed the terms of your relationship and is making demands on you he has no right to make." And Di Trastavia says, "You didn't push him into this. Plenty of relationships undergo periods of stress like this. What you're dealing with isn't even remotely outside the norm, especially this year. Deciding that perfectly predictable stresses on your relationship, unemployment, family illness, made your boyfriend turn to religion is simply not a reasonable conclusion. It's far more likely that your partner had some deep, unresolved angst over his sexuality. Angst that was always going to rear its head again and force him to deal with it one way or another. He chose to deal with it by denying it and claiming this out of his hands. If God demands that he not be gay, well then, he can't be held responsible for withdrawing from the relationship. There's a cold sort of comfort in that for people who aren't comfortable with owning who they are or what they want to do. It may not bring happiness, but it brings safety and certainty, and the comfort of something bigger, that you being in charge. And there's little you can do about it. You can ask him to see a LGBTQ friendly counsellor, you can try to reason with him, you can issue ultimatums, but ultimately he has to want to choose a different path than the one he's on. And you have no control over that. I'm sorry." And Karakit says, "Isn't he being selfish by asking you to be the one who compromises? He makes a unilateral decision to no longer be intimate. He gets to intensively ignore your baggage and pressure you to convert to Christianity. You deserve a relationship where you feel psychologically safe, where you have a partner you can lean on and trust, where you're allowed to be yourself without judgment or censure. If your boyfriend is willing to talk through your conflicts in therapy, might be helpful to find someone, not religious please, to mediate. This might be the end of your 5-year relationship. Don't think of it as a sunk cost. Think of it as saving the next 50 years of your life from this uncomfortable, pressuring situation that your boyfriend is putting you in. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Is there a way of resolving it? Do you think that the boyfriend will want to resolve it, or do you think they will continue down the path they're going down? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Co-worker, 43 male, making up rumours about me, 30 female. I worked with Ben, 43, about 6 years ago. I, 30 female, as an intern at the company, and he was a bit higher up. Generally, his position wouldn't be interacting with mine. Since I was fresh out of college and extremely naive, I thought Ben wanted to be friends. We had lunches, dinners, and coffee frequently. He used to tell me about his marital problems, and I would about boys my age. So cringe. Anyways, things got ugly when he started to want more and I didn't. I tried to gently turn him down, and I ended up leaving after my internship ended. A few years went by and I graduated with my MBA and came back to the company in the same role as Ben. He immediately recognized me even though I looked different. I lost 25 pounds, got into shape and grew my hair out. I also updated nearly every aspect of my life into a professional from a poor broke college kid. I'm also happily married to a woman, lol. Who would have thought that? Ben has been making up rumours about me at the office for a month now. Apparently his marriage isn't going well and he's unhappy. He's told people at work I'm obsessed with him. I'm not actually queer, I'm a stalker, I slept my way to get my degree, among other stuff. It's just tough to catch him because he's never said it directly to me. He just ignores me but finds excuses to always look at me or be around. I've reported it to HR and waiting to see, but what gives is such strange behaviour. He was nice at first until he saw the differences. To me it just sounds like school ground bullshit in this, that, you know, you turned him down, he doesn't like it, and now so he's trying to get back at you in some like petty, childish way. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely, like you said in this one, report it to HR and keep taking any further evidence that happens, because he's creating like not an unsafe workplace, what do they call it? He's creating like an unfriendly workplace. I forgot what the definition is. But 6502 Bender says, this isn't a HR matter. Gather evidence, gather witnesses, record everything, and don't hold back. He did this to himself. Good luck. And Browsing the Produce says, in quotes, he was nice at first until he, and crosses out, saw the differences, and replaces it with, realised I wouldn't fuck him. And then says, creeps going scorched earth to protect his ickle wee ego. You know, the guys who get angry and call women whores when they get rejected. He's one of that lot. And Pizza Martini said he wanted to have an affair, you didn't, and now he's trying to humiliate you because his fragile ego can't handle the fact that you didn't want him. And OXJX says, it sounds like when you reject the guy and they start going, you're ugly anyways, I never wanted you, etc. He's salty. And Humming Broad says, you know exactly what his issue is, unfortunately. Ben may be digging his own grave, but you're right to make HR aware of his antics. I'm guessing your co-workers were the ones who brought all this to your attention, right? Next time they mention it, keep that what gives is such strained behaviour energy. It'll serve you better than anger, however justified. You might also want to address his annoying hanging around habit in the moment. Hey Ben, you need something. We'll be done with the conference room in another few minutes, Ben. Ben, you look like you have something to add about the Bluth account. Want to grab a seat? Let him scuttle away like the weirdo he is. Too true. Now, what would you do in this situation if you was OP? Obviously taking the evidence and all this kind of thing, but is there anything else they could do? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Pickety Pookety. Crazy mother-in-law, 55 female, was rude to me, twisted things, so I'm, 30 female, the bad guy somehow, unsure how to proceed. This is going to get long, so thanks in advance for hanging in there. To be as brief as possible, my mother-in-law is a crazy person. She's off her rocker, rude and pushy, and she has lost all of her friends in her life through cruelly gossiping about them and overall just being nasty. Her other daughter-in-law refuses to allow her into her home, and all my husband's siblings hate her. She gave one of them an eating disorder by poking her belly and calling her chunky every time she came to visit. Oh God. Last Christmas, her and my father-in-law came over for the holidays. They live 6 hours away. Christmas Day comes around and I ask when we should open presents. She says we need to wait for my husband's sister to get there. Okay, fine. So I open my presents with my mum while mother-in-law and father-in-law are otherwise occupied. My mum is single and we spend all holidays together. It never even occurred to me to wait to open our gifts to each other, because then she would have sat around awkwardly watching us open our presents with my in-laws and I wouldn't have wanted her to feel left out. A couple hours later, we are still waiting for his sister to arrive. I tell everyone that my mum and I need to head off for an hour to open gifts with my brother and nephew down the road, but we will be back shortly. She comes and sits next to me when I am alone and tells me, "We won't be waiting for you to open the gifts. We have waited long enough." It was about noon. I thought she was joking, so I laughed. I said, No, we won't be more than an hour and sister isn't going to be here for a while yet. She said, "No, we won't be waiting." I couldn't believe it. My mum and I left after I told mother-in-law, "I would appreciate if you waited for me. I would like to see you open the gifts I got you." I told my husband, who saw none of this go down, that they can do what they want but not open our gifts until I got back. Well, they didn't wait. My husband didn't get them to wait, and that was his own issue at the time. He's a big pushover when it comes to his family. It was really rude and hurtful, but I bit my tongue and for the sake of my husband, tried to let it go. I've seen his parents once since then. They usually come and stay with us for days at a time, but after Christmas, they were only visited his siblings and not us. No problem. I didn't want to be around her anyway. Well, my husband goes to visit them at his sister's last week while I was working. His dad takes him aside at the end of the night and tells him that mother-in-law will not be coming to our house anymore because of the fight we got into at Christmas and because I was rude to her. Fight? What? I bit my tongue so hard at Christmas that I still have dents in it, so I'm flabbergasted that she has turned this into me being mean to her. She said that the last time she saw me, it was obvious that I was cold to her and that sister was cold too, so obviously I must have poisoned sister against her. I never said anything bad about her to her sisters, but trust me, there is nothing I could say that would make sister hate mother-in-law more than she already does. When my husband relayed this story to me, he said it in a way that was like, "Both of you were in the wrong," which made my jaw literally drop. He later went back on that and said he wasn't really clear on what all went down and forgot details. It is obvious that his dad agrees with mother-in-law that I played an equal part in this. I can't stress this enough, but this woman came into my home, arranged to have a present opening without me being there because she was apparently upset that I opened gifts with my mother without her, and now has the nerve to blame me. I had no idea she was upset about me opening gifts with my mum. I mean, how could anyone guess that? It's such a small thing. Every year for my B-Day, they send me gifts and a card. It is usually nothing much, but something to show that they are thinking of me. This year, not only did neither of them send me anything, but not even father-in-law sent me a happy birthday message. I'm sure that seems like a silly thing to be upset about, but it has hurt my feelings very much. Mother-in-law is a crazy narcissist, so I'm not surprised that she would not say happy birthday and send me a gift out of spite, but father-in-law is on board with this. Not even a happy birthday text. What? I'm really hurt and offended and do not want to see either of them for a good long while. My husband is fine with this and wouldn't force me to be around them until I am ready, but he also has not defended me to his father whatsoever. He just keeps saying that if anything he says to his dad goes back to his mother-in-law and he doesn't want to risk the relationship with his dad. If mother-in-law wants, she can keep father-in-law from visiting his son, except very rarely. I'm not sure if it is worth it to get my husband to point out that father-in-law missed my birthday or just leave it. Obviously he knew what he was doing would be hurtful and didn't care. Now, I think the real issue in this situation is the husband. Now, hear me out on this, because I say that because the mother is out of the situation now. She's already said she doesn't want to come to your house no more. Brucey bonus right there, right? But your husband isn't backing you up in this situation. He could be telling father-in-law, like, this is nothing to do with my wife. What the hell are you doing? This is my mum doing this. And she's poisoning people against my wife. And that's purely it. The husband could be helping a lot more in this situation rather than just sitting back. I know he wants to keep the relationship, but it's damaging your own one at the cost of that. But let's have a look at a couple of the comments to see what they say. Wells a Deep Subject says, everyone is giving you great advice here, especially on which other subreddits to check out. My 2 cents. 1. Don't wrestle with pigs. You'll both get dirty and the pig likes it. Mother-in-law thrives on drama and false victimhood. She wants to line up the players. Don't play her games. Don't expect her to ever do anything kind or to benefit you without some kind of motive behind it. You know darn well that the whole wait for sister act was a ploy to see how she could manipulate Christmas to see if she could either stir up trouble with either sister or you being the bad guy. 2. Accordingly, learn to grey rock, especially since your husband is being kind of a dummy here. Mother-in-law won't visit the house. Okay. Mother-in-law's feelings are hurt. Okay. Father-in-law says he can't come over either. Okay. Why won't you do something, wife? Well, really, they're your family, so I will let you handle everything to do with them from now on. I don't want to get in their way anymore. They've made their unhappiness with me known, so I'm going to bow out at this point. But can't you take some of the blame? Well, consider the source and all the evidence. I'm just not going to play these games anymore. What you want to do about them is your call. 3. Your husband knows darn well that his mum is an issue and his dad is an enabler. Husband is just hoping that you will make his life easier by both putting up with this nonsense and by not calling him out for being another enabler. Let yourself disengage from the shenanigans until he gets fed up enough with them to grow a spine. 4. Be prepared for an escalation in manipulations, lies and tantrums as you stop playing the game. This is called Extinction Burst. Have some plans in mind for when things get ugly. Impromptu spa day, week at mum's, block or social media, etc. Maybe have some counselling numbers ready. 5. Your mother-in-law is spinning a roulette wheel of drama. As she loses more and more people from her life due to her nonsense, there are fewer people taking up the space on that wheel. Your odds of having your name come up increase dramatically as her little world shrinks. It was inevitable that your name came up no matter how good a person you are. She will always care for drama more than she cares for anybody in her life, including you. If you think you can massage her into understanding your point of view, into being kinder, it won't happen. She'll just quiet down until your name comes up again, then again, then again. Being a winner on this wheel sucks, so deal with it now because otherwise you'll get tons of chances to have issues with her hurtfulness later. It isn't going to stop. And I love a comment that says pretty much all the comments in one comment right there. And I'm going to leave that one there, but I would love to know what you think on this story. And I know some of you from past stories from yourselves, you have crazy mother-in-law stories too. So let me know what you would do in this situation. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Me, 29 female, with husband, 30 male, who is a childcare know-it-all and isn't letting me bond with baby. 8 months on my own. So in the middle of this whole pandemic, we've managed to start a family. Life is tough with a 1-month-old. I'm afraid my husband's very helpful behaviour is actually very unhelpful. My husband grew up in a big family and is very familiar/comfortable with the care of children and babies, including small infants. I had the opposite experience. When we decided to have a baby, for me, it was kind of as if we decided to start a llama farm. I had zero experience or prior knowledge and I had to do and still do a ton of research. It doesn't help that I have severe PPD. I have already been seeing a therapist for a long time for depression and anxiety, and I've been put on SSRI by my GP. So if you tell me to see a therapist and or get medicated, I'll ignore you because I know you haven't even bothered to read my post. The problem is that my husband and his mother, who is actually lovely and a helpful woman, who is bugging me for the same reason he is always swooping in to show me how to actually do things. I don't have the muscle memory to execute the optimal way to fix a diaper or fill a formula bottle. My logical brain is confident that I'm not going to kill my baby, but the depression and constant wearing down by my husband and mother-in-law is getting to me. They also know I'm not going to kill the baby, but they always seem to know just what to do. When they see me struggling with something, it's like they're hovering with itchy fingers, just waiting to take over. The even more annoying thing is, they're right. Whatever they do to soothe the baby and get him to sleep works like a charm. So on top of knowing I need to learn this shit myself, I feel like a failure. I feel watched and surveilled in my own home and like I'm not getting one-on-one time with a baby. I feel incompetent and helpless. I can feel learned helplessness setting in. I feel useless. I've chosen not to breastfeed for several reasons, so it's like the baby really doesn't need me. I logically know this isn't true because of attachment and all that, but again, the severe depression speaks. I know someone's going to be like, why don't you just talk to him? Well, no shit, I have. Multiple times. I've told him he needs to go out somewhere and take a break and just let me handle things so I can learn and bond with the baby on my own. He says, okay, I get it, and then seems to promptly forget we ever had the conversation. He amazingly has selective amnesia regarding a specific topic. Ditto his mother-in-law. He's a very fatherly person, so he wants to be all over the baby all the time, which obviously I get, but it results in this issue. My family all lives far away, so I'm stuck with these two. I really have vivid and deeply satisfying fantasies of taking my sharpest kitchen knife to both of their faces, which I want to say is the PPD talking, but seriously, I am infuriated. But outwardly, I'm too tired to protest. I'm tired all the time and just want to be left alone. I feel like I'm being tortured in some kind of weird way that it kills me that we're not able to just chill and enjoy this special time with the newborn. I told husband I think maybe we should try couples counselling, and his jaw very nearly hit the floor. He's a great guy overall, obviously, so he was open to the idea, but I could tell he was totally dumbfounded and couldn't tell what the problem was. So I told him I just don't feel heard, and I feel like both he and his mum are overbearing. So then he got sad and was like, I'm just trying to help. I know it's tough to be a new mum. I got really angry with him and said some not nice things, which I regret. My husband has, bizarrely, never dealt with mental illness, so I think he's really freaked out by the PPD. Later, I heard him talking to his mum in whispered and concerned tones about my mental health, so I feel like he is pathologizing this specific problem. I feel like I'm going crazy, which I guess I already am, but you know, is it going to kill either of them to watch me fumble a bottle or deal with a couple of blowouts a few times? My amazing husband I can't complain about has already taken it on himself to find couples counsellor, which obnoxiously is making me feel guilty, like, am I really complaining about nothing when I clearly have such a great guy? I mean, I know I'm not, but it's driving me crazy. Any advice in advance of seeing this counsellor would be really appreciated. And we're going to start off with Draysnoy saying, okay, this might sound a little crazy, but my husband was in the same position as you, minus a mother-in-law helping. With our first, and I was in the your husband's position, a lot of childcare experience, but I also had PPD/A. My husband told me multiple times to leave him, but my anxiety would get the better of me. Eventually he would put on a bright red t-shirt, which we called his I got this shirt. When he had it on, nobody was to mess with what he was doing with Babe. It was a big, blaring visual reminder for me that he did not want help/suggestions to be watched while he was with Baby. He would put it on when he was going to practice, learn, figure out his own way of dealing with Baby, and it helped so much to know when he was wearing it, he didn't want anyone's help. I wouldn't offer, and he wouldn't feel like crap about it. That way, he could communicate where he was at without having to verbalize/risk a fight. And Sleep Fight says you should tell him that you want mother-in-law to leave and give you some space to be a new mum. You feel like it's him and her versus you. Tell him that you need him to back you up. It sounds like he's smothering the hell out of you, and that would drive anyone crazy. Get used to telling him and mother-in-law to give you space. I'm changing the diaper, go in the other room and let me handle this. Or I'm filling the bottle, go sit down and do XYZ. Get used to this phrase, I'm doing this thing, I will tell you if I want help. When he forgets, reiterate that you're doing it and you will ask for help if you want it. Really nail it into him. Honestly, if you have to, drag him to the doctor with you to explain all this to the doctor. And Consistent Cheesecake says, the way I see it, you are doing tons of stuff right. You talk to your husband about your concerns, and while he hasn't listened, you have pointed out that he isn't listening. You've told him that you want to go to counselling, so on that front, I hope you can take some comfort in knowing that you've done what you can. You've communicated. I really hope that couples counsellor helps. My advice for things in addition to going to counselling is to phrase a request to your husband in terms of what you want him to do, and not what you don't want him to do. It looks to me like your husband sees that you're struggling with PPD and wants desperately to do something helpful, but the way he can think of help is to take over whatever task you're currently doing. Perhaps if you said, can you please help me by letting me practice changing the diaper, it would click a little better for him. If you phrase it as, the way you can help me is by letting me bond with our baby right now, please go back to what you were doing before, or I know you want to help me and I appreciate that, right now you can help me by going for a walk and giving me some alone time, etc. Also, does your mother-in-law live with you two, and can she leave? I feel like living with your in-laws always causes more problems than it solves personally. Now, what do you guys make of this one? How can OP approach the situation without causing a fight? Are they valid in their thoughts and concerns? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, I hope you did enjoy this episode of Relationships. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Very cheeky of you, I must say so. And if you want to join the channel, you can do by clicking that join button down below, or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and joining up there. Thank you so much for your support, the time out of your day, and just being here. You are bloody amazing. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.